Hello and welcome to the FinTech Finance Virtuarena. I'm your host, Doug Mackenzie, and joining me on today's session looking at the Progressing Payments Report by BlueSnap is Nikhita Hyett. Nikhita, how are you doing here today?
Hey Doug, I'm doing really well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's our pleasure, and I'm really interested to learn a bit more about BlueSnap. For our audience who also might not be aware, could you tell us a bit more about BlueSnap and your role there, please?
Yep, absolutely. So BlueSnap, we are a global all-in-one payment platform, and we have a big focus on helping businesses increase their sales and reduce costs through our all-in-one platform. So we can do global acquiring, we offer local payment methods, multiple currencies, and it's all available through one integration, one contract, and one account with BlueSnap. So we really help businesses when they want to accept payments globally.
That's incredible. And I think that's going to come at such a perfect time because as a result of how successful payments have become and e-commerce has become, payments are now a myriad of confusing different alleyways and where to go down. And am I correct in saying that for small businesses, that might not be the easiest thing to navigate?
Yeah, absolutely. Small and big businesses. I mean, I think it can definitely seem complicated and confusing. And when you're talking about going global as well, you have businesses that have multiple payment providers per region, per channel, and to try and coordinate that globally, it can be a real pain in the arse.
Yeah.
And admin heavy and tech resource heavy. And actually that's why companies like BlueSnap exist, because we make that process super simple and straightforward and remove the pain in the arse work actually.
That's absolutely brilliant because I think, a lot of businesses have really struggled over the last 2 years for obvious reasons. To be able to remove that barrier is going to be so critical. Now, I think we need to take a step back and maybe look at the payments industry as a whole. Could I ask, in your perspective, and maybe at BlueSnap's perspective, what have been some of the biggest milestones of these payment innovations that have led to businesses getting to this point of confusion?
I think it's a few different things. So one of them is just, I think, how payments and paying for things and buying things, that has changed. So things like, before you'd go to a shop, you'd pay in whatever method that they have available. Maybe they'd only take cash. And then what's happened since then is that you can go into a store and you pay in the method that's most convenient for you. People then were buying online. This is pre-COVID. People were then buying stuff online. And then in the last couple of years, even more stuff has gone online. And I think that kind of natural evolution of factors that have happened has changed the way that we pay for things. So that's a big thing. And then the other side is also the compliance and the regulation around it as well. That's obviously huge, especially when you look at payments online and compliance and PSD2, which is the EU regs that came into place, and 3D Secure, and all these other different things have been quite big in shaping the way that the payments industry has been and how it's changed and how I guess how we buy things online, but also how we sell things as well.
And I think that's going to be so critical going forward because, I know SCA has been postponed numerous times, but it's going to come. It's, especially in Europe, it's certainly looking a lot closer. Now, let's explore what you were mentioning there. What are the implications of, for instance, SCA or 3D Secure on businesses? And does it mean that businesses now need to concentrate more on orchestrating their payments?
Yeah, so I think if we look at the EU and where it is mandatory to have 3D Secure, and you need to have that, and I see the journey that our merchants have been on to get to that stage, and actually it's before it was coming, it's here now. In the UK, it's coming, and you have to be ready for it. And so the implications, there's a couple of things here. Firstly, as a business, you need to be ready for this, and you need to be with the right partner, the right payment partner that can help you with this, that can make it easy. So with BlueSnap, it's a very, very easy integration, and companies similar to BlueSnap to put that in place and to get that up and running fully compliant, globally. So positioning yourself with the right partner is crucial. That will save you a lot of work, time, hassle, effort, costs, etc. So that's really, really important. But you need to do it. So it's not just, right, it's up to them to handle it all. You still need to do that bit of coding to get it up and running. And then the second thing is the change in the customer journey. Doug, you know that with 3D Secure, like last year before, when it comes up, you get that pop-up screen, you've got to put your password in. We have the redirect, and especially when it first came in, you're like, what is this? Like, this is.
It almost seems like a scam at some point, even though it's enhanced security.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why, some countries absolutely hated it. So, for example, in Spain, I think that the abandonment rates when 3D Secure used to come up were huge. People just didn't like it. They weren't familiar with it.
Yeah.
But then what's happened is with 3D Secure 2, that flow has changed. So one of the big things is that with 3D Secure 2, you have to share a lot more data. And by sharing that data, there's less friction because the banks are more likely to accept those transactions because they see it as lower risk. There's less risk involved. There's more information, so they feel comfortable that this is a genuine shopper. And so that's actually made the journey much, much better and much more seamless. So maybe now what we'll have is when we go through the 3D Secure flow, we might get sent a text message with our password. That comes straight away. You put that in. People are familiar with it. You don't have that redirect. You don't have any kind of clunky journey anymore. And so actually, with 3D Secure now, with the kind of the changes that have come into place, what we're seeing is actually it's a better customer journey and a reduction in fraud. So on the whole, that's been it's been positive.
Incredible. Now, to follow that narrative of positivity, what does this mean for customers? What does this mean for businesses? There's got to be a reason better than just enhancing their compliance standards, and how does BlueSnap filter into that? What's the benefit of these changes to the industry for businesses?
So fraud prevention is the massive benefit. So you have customers that want to buy something from you, want to spend money on your site, they can spend money on your site. And the customers that are the fraudulent transactions, there is a high chance of them being blocked. And so as a shopper, that gives you that security, but also as a merchant, as a business, you then know you're not going to get bombarded with chargebacks. And because it's gone through 3D Secure, you have the liability shift with the bank. So if you do get a chargeback, you can defend it because it's gone through that flow. So it's big. That's a massive benefit. That's why I think when you have that combined with the good customer journey, then the outcome is sort of win-win all round.
Now, you mentioned, obviously, for instance, that there are very different payment cultures. For instance, Spain found the original adoption of 3D Secure being quite difficult. How does BlueSnap really look to kind of enable their businesses to pay for things across geographies in a seamless and easy way? How are you able to do what the banks have never really been able to do at an affordable rate?
So there are a few things here. Firstly, it's the integration. So one integration to BlueSnap enables you to accept payments globally. So that is a massive thing. You don't have to do a separate integration per country. It's one integration. So from a technical debt standpoint, that's a big benefit. The other thing is for each region, it's really, really important to offer local currencies. It's a little bit like when you see an advert on Instagram for an amazing pair of shoes, and you click on it and the price is in dollars. For me, I'm based in the UK, and I'm like, oh, nah, it's not for me. Or, the first thing that comes in, okay, it's going to be sent to me in about 3 months' time after the party I want it. So, it's not right. So I don't bother. So offering local currency is crucial. That's a major way of supporting businesses. And again, through that one integration, you just need to set up the currencies that you want. So it's not, it's low effort, which ties back to the technical side. And then the third thing is having the local payment methods. It's not just the currencies, it's the local payment methods. So for example, in the Netherlands, Ideal is the most popular way of paying. In Germany, Sofort is very popular. And when we're talking B2B, you need to have SEPA. In the US, you must have ACH. So it's also working with a payment partner that can offer all these local payment methods for your markets. And it's not a case of offering every single payment method for that country. Like, that is not what you want to be doing. You don't want to, that's inefficient and unnecessary. You want to have what's relevant to your customers. And I think for me, I can advise on what trends we're seeing in the payments industry, on payment methods. I can talk about the integration. You as the merchant, you as a business know your customers better than I do. So, I would ask you lots of questions about your business to understand the profile of your customer and what I would then recommend off the back of that, because ultimately you're the one who knows your customers better than I do.
I think that's so important going forward, is the fact that it now puts the businesses back in the driver's seat to be able to action what they need and what they want, and not have to maybe go for significant charges for things they're never going to use, which I can imagine could be quite costly for businesses of any size. Now, let's move on to the report that you guys have commissioned, and I really want to know some of the findings that stuck out to you and were really interesting to you.
So at BlueSnap, we did a progressing payments report looking at the state of B2B payments in the UK. And one of the things that really stood out was the impact of outdated accounts receivable processes and in UK businesses. And we're talking about how businesses get paid and how they invoice their customers, and how they check that their invoices have been paid. And in the B2B space, this is crucial. The big companies might have some automation in place. The smaller companies, not necessarily. And in the past 18 months, with what's been going on, our report found that the majority of businesses were impacted by late payments. I think we had a stat that more than 80% of UK firms said the future of their company is threatened by overdue invoices, and this is because legacy payment methods and a lack of automation in the accounts receivable process.
That must be the most frustrating thing for a business, to be paid, but for some reason, whether it's on the acquiring bank's fault or just the payment journey, that has not gone into your account. And sometimes, if cash flow is so important, that's got to be very painful. So why has it taken the traditional financial institutions so long to amend that? And where does BlueSnap come in?
So I think with this, it's more to do with the fact that businesses struggle to keep on top of invoices. So they've done the job, they've provided whatever they need to be providing, and they need to keep on top of sending out that invoice to their customers, and they need to keep on top of chasing that invoice. And for small businesses, this has traditionally been quite manual. I think we saw something like 31% of the businesses that we interviewed for this, they still fax their invoices. 39% post their invoices, and this is within the last 12 months. So we're talking COVID times, and it's
absurd. Who's going to go into an office to receive a fax?
Yeah, exactly. It's absurd, and people still pay with checks. People still accept check payments, and also paying with cash.
Yeah.
And so what we are speaking to businesses about, and what we talked about, is having an accounts receivable automation solution. So having using a platform like, for example, BlueSnap, where you can have that invoice cadence. When you've done a job, you have your customers on there, and it's easy to send out invoices. You chase that invoice if it hasn't been paid, every 2 weeks, for example. You can, when that invoice has been paid, it automatically feeds into your system, into your CRM, and so that invoice has been paid, and you have that full visibility of what's going on. and how and where you're at in terms of your cash flow, and all of this stuff seems so obvious. And I think when you kind of work in fintech, you're like, wow, who still sends out a fax, and why are people why is there one person in charge of sending out invoices? And I feel like it's really easy to have that attitude, but actually there are many successful small businesses, and that's how they've operated, and that's how they operate. And it goes back to listening to your customers and understanding them and their business, and helping make changes that can improve things and not patronize them.
Yeah, I think that's going to be so critical, because a lot of small businesses have been able to operate this way, but as we've seen over the last couple of years, that time has changed. And it's time to really maybe grapple with banking and payments in a very different way. Now, Nikhita, I think that's all we've got time for, but thank you so much for showcasing how critical this really is for a lot of organizations. And I think it's been really interesting to kind of hear what that means for businesses going forward. So thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you for having me, Doug. Thank you.
Thank you. And also to our viewers as well, you can catch the rest of the series and much more over at ffnews.com. And of course, YouTube and LinkedIn, where I'll see you in the comments. So once again, Nikhita, thank you so much, and goodbye.
Bye, Doug. Thanks.